Hello, and welcome to the November 9th bug triage meeting for Operator SDK. Looks like we got a bunch of stuff on the list today, so let's go ahead and get started. If I could move this menu out of the way. Operator Framework Docs is easier to create issues. We want to make it easier to create issues for that.
Yeah, I'll take this. So go ahead and scroll down. There's a screenshot there that basically they were requesting that we put those links in our docs, and I'm not sure when it happened. Somebody else put them in. They're already there. They're in master, and they will be available with the 1.2 release. However, we're leaving this issue open because if you scroll down to the bottom, we'd like to have a docs issue template. And so that's all we really need to do. But I think that would be nice. We've got bug fix features or support, but I think docs issue would be another good template.
So this is the actual actionable thing we want done as a result of this issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think go ahead and assign it to me, make it the 1.3 release.
Sorry, me is Austin?
Yes.
Looks like you're already on here.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Anything else for this one? Can we change the operator language between releases? Oh no. I don't even know if anything of those pieces is transferable, really.
Okay, I think I remember this one. The folk is telling that they know that their project will require the Go implementation for the next release of their project, the next release of their project. So he would like to know if he has some problem that he will face migrating from Ansible to Go, and if he's better migrate now, or they can release 1.0 of their project and after release do another release and the operator in Go, done in Go instead of Ansible. So I basically answer that Ansible and Helm bring some facilities for the users, but it has its own limitations. In the back end, behind of the scene is always a Go operator. So I don't think that it has something that is possible to do with Ansible or Helm that is not possible to do with Go. I cannot think nothing about that. And about the release tag, about his release tag, I think that it's up with their needs. I doesn't know, particularly as an engineer, as a developer, I would prefer migrate as soon as possible because how long more time I be working on developing application in some stack that I know that you need to be migrate for another stack will be more work. But just that. This is, in my humble opinion, really up to them.
It almost sounds like if that's what they're going to do, that one release would be Ansible, and then they're basically rewriting it.
But presumably the CRD would not change if they're trying to port the exact same behavior from Ansible to Go. Presumably the type would not change.
True.
I don't know exactly how OLM works, but if I were to have to do this upgrade manually, it wouldn't be that difficult to shut down the old Ansible controller by removing that stuff, and then leaving the CRDs intact, deploy the new Golang controller.
I think you would need to update the CRDs just a little bit. I know that Go, the Go operator populates the CRD with a bunch of extra validation stuff that we don't have in Ansible.
That would all be optional though. Like you could update to a Go operator and not include all the validation stuff. Theoretically, so OLM can do that upgrade, that you're talking about, Jonathan.
Uh-huh.
It would be an interesting test whether you can update the CRD to apply new validations to it. That would potentially be the one area of like potential breaking change. What we could do here is basically suggest like users of the Helm Ansible operator can change their CRD validations to be whatever they want. So if they knew what they wanted to eventually have in their validations from like a Go marker perspective, they could go ahead and put that in their CRD validations now, and it'll work just like they want it to. They just don't get it auto-generated. So in my opinion, I think I agree with Jonathan that everything should be it's possible to make everything transparent. It's also possible for you to screw something up, but as long as you're careful, you should be able to upgrade from Ansible to Go with no user-facing change whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. I only think that how much more things they do in Ansible, more work that you have to support, but just that. How big and complex be the Ansible project, more complex will be ported to another language as any other application.
So I have an idea for this one. Like, this is a really difficult question to answer generally. So, but this is the type of thing I think it would be really beneficial if this person were to write like a blog post or something on doing this, because I think this is going to be like at least there are other people who are going to run into the same questions. Like, how hard will it be? It's a hard question to answer, especially for us, because we don't really do this ourselves. So yeah, I'll leave that as a comment.
Sure. And I was going to say, Joe, could you leave a comment basically saying what you just said on this issue?
Yeah. The other thing that I don't know whether we want to put in this as a comment, we can, but just another data point here is that in the past, before 1.0, we had this very half-baked notion of hybrid operators where you could run Operator SDK migrate on your Ansible or Helm project, and it would effectively turn it into a Go operator where we're basically just giving you the code that runs Helm or Ansible operators, but now you have some Go code to play with. We backed all of that stuff out because turned out it wasn't very useful, but it's still on our roadmap to kind of bring that back into the fold and see if there's a better way of doing that. And so right now I've got a separate Helm operator implementation in my personal GitHub that implements the exact same Helm operator, but with like a really nice Go library that you could use yourself. So the idea would be, if you've got a Helm operator, you can flip it over and use this Go API to run your Helm operator, but then there's some extra Go stuff that you can do that you can't just do with the normal Helm operator. So that's like probably at least 6 months down the road. So I don't know if we want to talk about that here as like an immediate thing that they can count on, but just to throw it out there as another data point.
Okay. So it looks like this, we have some good information for this person. In terms of this specific issue, what do we want to do with it?
I think I just kept open to see if someone has more inputs, ideas that you'd like to share. So Joe, you put these inputs. Austin gave the idea to suggest the user trying to document in some way and make it public how hard was his work or what problems was faced and how he solved that. So I think after that it's done.
Okay. But I'm saying, like we can make all the comments that we just did on this issue, but like this issue itself is not really actionable. There's not like some
I think that was
thing.
it. Once we add the comments, we'll just close it, is what I was thinking.
Okay, Joe, can I ask you to do that when you write your comment?
So I'm just gonna put my comment about the CRD stuff and no user facing changes and then close it. Is that what we say?
Yeah.
Yep, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and assign you.
I think they really just want to know, is this something they want to go down the path of and find out if it's going to be loaded with mines or, you know, or not. It doesn't sound like it's loaded with mines. So
I mean, I know back when I worked on service catalog and we cut releases that involved breaking changes, like that was basically the same pattern we did. We brought down our API server and our controller. The CRDs remained in place, and theoretically, the actual background objects represented by those objects still continued to function while the controllers were not there. And you know, we were building stuff with rocks back then, so theoretically it should be a lot easier these days. Sorry, anything more on that before we move on? We do have a lot of stuff to get through. Okay.
Okay, well,
Steps in Golang tutorial under cleanup are not sufficient. So there's a problem with our docs.
yes, I think it has a pull request already. It's done by the author of this issue.
I'm sorry, Camilla, you have a lot of background noise. I can't really hear what you're saying.
Oh, now I catch her. Just a moment. Let's see. It's better now?
A little bit.
Yeah. I think the computer gets better the outside sound than I can hear. Okay. So this one is just the doc, has a pull request to update the docs with a cleanup option in the tutorial. The author did this pull request. I think it's very closer to get measured. So I think we just can put in the next milestone and it's fine.
Doesn't the default tutorial do all of its junk in a new namespace?
No.
No? Okay, I must be misremembering.
The tutorial, I believe that it uses the full namespace. If you click on the pull request, the pull request is, yes. So if you check the files of the pull request, if you go,
Sorry, which one's the pull request?
is that one that has the open stuff, go down, go down, go up. Yeah.
Oh, right here.
So it's just to add option how to clean up the steps that was done if you're checking the files. It is done. For V3 Alpha plugin in upstream, the make and deployment, it's already done. So this step you no longer require to be just like a run, make, run, deploy.
Cool. So can we assign this to you, Camilla, to make sure
Yes.
that this gets closed by when the PR gets merged?
Sure. Can put for me into the next milestone.
1.3. Okay, anything else on this one?
No. I thought that this problem with the outsider sounds in Apple was just with the iPhone, the phones, the headphones, not with the computer as well. I think the computer capture better the outside sounds than. in my voice.
It's a little bit better now. So I don't know what you switched from, but I think it's better. Scorecard flake and Go unit and E2E CI job. Austin, this is your thing.
Let me see. Yeah, I think this is just a flake. I don't think it needs to be, it's not an urgent thing to address, but it is annoying. And I think it's just good to have this issue open. So let's just stick it on the backlog, not assign anybody. And then maybe as it happens more and more, we can kind of iron it out. But I don't think it needs to be like a priority or anything.
I know we were explicitly trying to avoid backlogging issues with no one assigned to them.
I guess that's fine. We can close it. And reopen.
I think the issue is just if we stick it in the backlog and nobody's assigned to it, like we're just going to forget about it. I think it's okay that it's not actionable, but like, would you mind if I assigned you to it just so that hopefully at least you'll remember about it?
I don't think anybody needs to remember about it. I think if the backlog is appropriate, and then if it rots and just gets removed automatically by the bot, that's totally fine. But if it keeps happening, then we can keep bumping it. And so this is just a place for the wheel to possibly be squeaky.
Okay.
If you want, you can assign me in the try. I can see if I see it or not. I can see if I can do something. But I doesn't know if we saw other times the same issue, so I can see if I can try to solve.
I have seen this multiple times myself as well. It's probably worth looking into a little bit. My guess is we just need to increase the timeout. It seems like probably like waiting to pull the scorecard images is probably what's going on here. So we might just need to change the wait time from 60 seconds to 120 seconds or something like that.
The only thing is strange is like if the CI is using the dev image as should be, the image is loaded in the kind, so we don't need to really pull. So maybe we are not using the dev image.
That'd be something to look at least, but you're right. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it doesn't have to do with image pulls. Maybe it has to do with scheduling it and collecting the logs and all that kind of stuff. It seems like it's somewhat rare though, so it could just be that we just need to bump the timeout by, 20 seconds or something like that to get it to, maybe we put it at 90 seconds and see what happens.
Okay, I'm fine just waiting on this one, Ben.
Put it for me, Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Unable to run tests locally. Hey, I've been encountering this as well.
Yeah, I opened this one. Let's see. Okay. Okay, let's see. 4151. Just for minutes for I remember. We did a refactory. We did a lot of changes in the making file. And after these changes get in place, I'm unable to run the tests. I think I put the cause of this one.
Actually, I think this isn't the same error I've been encountering, but I've been having a lot of trouble running the tests locally on my machine.
I think it is maybe be related to the fact of we are installing by default now the kind env test and this stuff when we run the in the thread sky, because before was different the setup for the CI and locally. Now shows that locally you execute the same steps in the CI, but locally I have the kind aware. So
So Camilla, the kind cluster that, I'm not saying this should work because I haven't tested on a Mac, but the kind cluster that gets set up as part of running these tests is a specific kind cluster for, it's called like Operator SDK EDE. So it should be separate than any other kind cluster using. And what should be happening is that we create the kind cluster and then we set the kubeconfig in the make file to use that kind cluster, but only if you're running make tasks. So it basically doesn't affect your environment at all, which was one of the goals. I think one of the things that I wasn't able to test when I was doing these changes for the EDE stuff was running it in a Mac. So I would not be surprised if there was something that was Mac specific that is not quite working right. Have you ever been able to run the new EDE test setup at all, Camilla?
yes, for me, yes. Always that I run the tests locally in this way doesn't work.
Okay.
Will you
Did it
develop
ever
it
work?
all the way through?
The package manifest never works, always fail, no matter if I run by IntelliJ as well, doesn't work.
I wonder if there's something related to the fact that on a Mac, you're running Docker within a separate hypervisor and then running kind within Docker. That's the only difference I can think of.
So I've executed things involving kind on my Mac, and it's worked fine. Not our stuff, not Operator SDK stuff, but like I've done kind tests before, and I don't remember having to set up anything that was Mac specific or an edge case or.
Yeah, I
Jonathan,
think it
have
is.
you run the new Makefile stuff and had issues, or were your issues only happening prior to the changes? I know you were having issues a while ago.
My issues are different now.
Okay.
they're new issues now with the new updated Makefile, so I guess that's exciting at least.
And are you also on a Mac?
Yeah, I'm on a Mac.
Okay.
But look at the virtual Ansible Runner exit is successfully. So I believe that it is related to the images because to run the tests, we build the images. So maybe it is something related the architecture of the images that we are building.
Well, I mean, if you look at the log message there, it looks like everything starts up correctly. And then it says attempting to acquire leader lease. And then seemingly never acquires it. So maybe that's somehow part of the issue.
Yeah, it's true. It was waiting. Sorry, I spoke something very silly. The error is that we are waiting for this string in the checks, and we didn't receive. So the reconcile was not made at all.
Right. So I don't think we're going to solve this here, but if anybody who has a Mac wants to dig into this more, it seems, I don't know if anyone else on the call has had issues similar to this on Linux. I know I haven't, but if anybody has, so far it sounds like this is limited to Mac, and there's something that we didn't cover that causes things to not work on Macs.
Okay. Again, in the interest of time, would we want to put this in 1.3? I think one of the things I definitely want to get happen in the next release is get the tests to work locally for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry.
You want to maybe assign both of you guys to this since you both have had the problem and you can both look at it, especially if you're seeing different issues.
Okay, anything else on this one right now?
No, I don't have.
Very good. The makefile target bin data has been showing errors also on Mac.
Yeah, this one, it's about the comment. I think it's very easy to solve. It's just to replace
We should just
double
use curl.
get. Yeah,
Wait, Mac really doesn't come with W yet?
I think
I'm not
not by default.
surprised.
It doesn't.
Okay, well, this seems fairly straightforward then. We just have to replace that with, what is it, curl-x?
Yeah, you can assign it to me. I'll submit a quick fix for this.
Sticking this in 1.3.
Thank you, Varsha.
No worries.
Anything else on this one? Check link docs fails whenever we add a new document. Oh, this has been closed? Oh, this has already been fixed. Why did it show up in my thing?
Because it was closed between the time that you open. No.
Cool. Well, I love issues that are already fixed. Ansible operator needs a way to pass vars as unsafe. What? I'm not really sure what a Jinja template is. So this is like they need to escape something that looks like JSON. And so the Ansible operator is eating it like it's JSON and blowing up.
I can take this and I'll respond. I'm not sure yet exactly what the response is yet, but
Where do we want to stick this?
I think 1.3 is fine. If there's a fix for it, then we'll get it done by then. If not, then it'll just be answer and close.
Okay.
Maybe is it the underlines? I remember that it has some.
Yeah, I
tricky.
remember the underscores too.
Yeah.
Anything else on this one?
The underscores. Thank you, Jesus, for
As far
translating
as
my
labels,
craziness. My craziness.
do we care? What about a triage support? Is that valid?
Yeah. And Ansible.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
How to restart a virtual service from controller in Operator SDK 1.0. I'm not really sure what they mean by recreated. Does this mean they just want to deploy a virtual service of Istio alongside their pods?
It shows like some requirements that someone he's trying to achieve the goal and he doesn't know how the things works. So
theoretically, this is like something somebody could have written an operator that would do this for you, but I don't know of any that. I mean, like the Istio operator might, maybe. I know it does a lot of junk and I haven't looked at it.
I think rather than spending time on this right now, we should just ask them to be more specific and keep moving.
Okay, I can respond to this. This is support. Backlog it. As a developer, I'd like to force the link checker to skip specific links for PR. Austin?
Yeah, so like there's two scenarios. First is if you push code or if you push something to a doc that links to code, like in GitHub, that doesn't exist, that won't exist in that branch until your PR merges, that's going to be a chicken and egg type problem. It's been hit sometimes before. It's not all that common. The workaround is just to have two PRs. It's not that big a deal. But it's also a problem sometimes, like read the docs goes down. All of read the docs goes down. And so suddenly we can't merge any pull requests, and that kind of sucks. So I think it would be nice to like add some way of skipping certain links. But we could, like, we don't have to put this in a specific milestone. I'm thinking maybe the post docs milestone would be fine for this.
Even if we had this capability, like what would that look like? You're writing a new pull request that includes a self link. You say skip this link, and then what? After that pull request gets merged, you write another pull request that changes it back.
Now, what I'm imagining, so there is a URL ignore thing that we've added recently. What I'm thinking is we have something that looks in the commit message, and if there's like some sort of special syntax in the commit message, it just uses that for the URL ignore value, just to give the developers some single run control over the link checker. Because it's such a shame to have the link checker be such a common gate for our pull requests when it has nothing to do with anything that's actually failing on our side.
I know that like with the OpenShift CI, you can, like for cases like this where a test is the chicken and egg problem, they have, I think this might be part of prowl, which is override the test name. So I can basically say, look, I'm skipping this test because I know it's a chicken and egg. I know I need to get this in first. It's almost, I wish it was a way to put it into the PR as a comment versus adding a commit to the PR itself.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like if it's, I don't know about you guys, but I never look at the commit messages at all, like period. I barely even necessarily know if there's multiple commits in a PR. And, you know, like, I don't disagree with doing this as like something that if we need to do it, let's do it, just so we can unblock ourselves on stuff. But I agree with Jesus that if there was some way to do an override, and this is kind of along the same lines as we were talking about the other issue where we want to do rerun, we might get to the point where enough of these things build up that we're like, all right, let's bite the bullet and just use prowl and tide.
Yeah. Because if it fails, it'd be great to say, oh, yes, I know I'm reviewing this. I know why this is happening. We're going to purposely skip that test. I know that what Austin is suggesting here would be that the author would create a commit and it will solve itself so the reviewer wouldn't have to look at it and determine it. Correct? I think that's what you were suggesting, right, Austin?
Yeah.
So it'll automatically, when it's running, if it sees that commit, then it knows to add that URL and ignore.
Do we have a CI label? I was looking, I don't see one really. We have area testing. Does that count?
It's probably as close as you're going to get.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So I think my 2 cents is that seems like the best way of solving this immediately. The downside is it basically takes it out of a reviewer's consciousness potentially.
Yep.
So it's possible if we enable this that someone can inadvertently skip a link check that actually should have been tested and maybe is actually a true positive, but the author didn't necessarily realize it was a true positive.
Yeah, I should also comment that the syntax for the URL ignore value is kind of gross. Like you can't just put a link; you have to escape all the slashes and stuff.
Sorry.
So, yeah, no, it's not. And also, since it's regex, there's also slashes that are like regex slashes. So it's it's easy to screw it up. So I would rather just have like some way of saying, hey, the docs or the link checker is optional for this test. I just wrote this up because it was the first thing I thought of.
No, it makes
I
sense.
mean, one option for sure is that we just take the link checker out of the Travis entirely, and we have that separate
Yeah.
link checker that runs as a GitHub action that I think is already optional. And then we maybe want to pay slightly more attention to that thing, especially when it fails. But again, talking from my personal experience, I'll usually scan all the checks at the end of a PR, and if any of them has an X by it, I'm probably going to be looking at it. So in my opinion, that'd be fairly reasonable.
That's
In
cool.
other words, don't block it, but still fail it.
I wish
Like the cover.
I wish it would block
Oh,
it,
I see.
but could be overridden. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to accidentally merge anything that is going to become someone else's problem.
I
Okay, so
think
then
I think. Sorry.
Sorry. What I was going to say was, I think what Joe is suggesting and and Camilla maybe is suggesting too is have it show up as a red X and fail, but not block merging.
I think that's as good as we can get while still
Yeah.
bringing awareness to reviewers.
I'm
I
cool
would
with that.
actually be okay with that.
Cool. In the interest of time, Austin, would you mind if I assigned this to you and you wrote a comment summarizing what we just discussed?
Sure.
And then this is in post 1.0 docs. Is that fine with everybody?
Yes.
On the plus side, this will be one less job that we have to use during CI, which should hopefully improve CI up a little bit too.
Okay, cool. Anything else on this one?
No.
Refactor and unit test operator installer.go. Oh, this is also Austin.
Sorry, I was typing. Yeah.
We can move on.
This subject says it all, really. It's just, it's a piece of the code that we couldn't unit test because it instantiates a client in the code, and we just need to pass that as an argument so that we can mock it.
I could take this one actually.
Do we just want to stick this in 1.3?
Yeah, that's fine.
Anything else on this one? I need to recreate a different CRD object that this has been closed.
That's the same one you just took, Jonathan. I was reading ahead and noticed it was a duplicate.
Oh, interesting. In that case, I probably want to keep that open so I can read it. Trying to write a validating webhook. I don't know if this is really a question for us.
Actually, I had spoken to the author of this issue and I had looked over the project, and I think there was some problem with how the webhook was scaffolded. In the sense, I wasn't sure whether the mutating webhook is again required for validating to work, but I had seen a similar issue in KubeBuilder. But I haven't reached back if that solved the issue or not.
Did you reach out to them directly? I don't see you.
They had reached out to me in Slack, so
Okay.
yeah.
Would you mind if I assigned you to this issue then?
Yeah, sure. I can follow up with them and figure this out.
And do we just want to, this is like a support.
Yeah.
Is it
I think
kind of
it's support. No, I think it's support.
And we're just going to backlog it.
Right, has an issue that I raised a few time ago because the samples doesn't work in OpenShift. Maybe it is related to the same scenario that the webhooks API versions scaffold doesn't work in the APIs that are used in the scaffold of the webhooks doesn't work for the OpenShift version used by the user as well. just to share. I will try to share with you this issue after.
Okay, I'll look into that too. I'll try testing this out in OCP.
Okay, anything else on this one? Add the ability to create custom metrics in Ansible operator. Didn't we talk about this last week? Or something like this?
I think this is similar to, but not the same as the one that we talked about last week.
So this one, Nick reached out to Fabian and I a month or so ago, and we kind of had a chat with him on Slack, and this was kind of just a summarization of what we discussed. But Fabian and I both agreed that this seemed like a thing we could do. And I probably talked about this last week, and then it just so happens that Nick opened this issue. So I think we probably, the problem is, I don't know if there's a super high priority on this. I would probably say help wanted. Someone like, I told Nick, like, if you want to submit a PR, like, we'd accept it. But I'm not sure how high priority it is for us to do this.
Sorry, just to clarify, is this metrics into like Ansible metrics, or is this making metrics from the Ansible operator come out through the normal Kubernetes metrics?
The latter, I think. So it's like a way for you to put in your Ansible playbook, set this metric to this value or increment this metric, and then for it to come out via the operator's metric. So the implementation that Fabian kind of brainstormed was, let's write a really simple web server that can just be running in the Ansible operator, that an Ansible task can basically curl and ask it to do stuff, one of which could be set a metric value.
Okay. If we're going to implement this ourselves, when, I mean, it sounds like this is not a 1.3 thing.
Yeah, I hesitate to put this, like, I guess this is probably backlog, but I feel like that's where issues go to die.
I mean, we can put it on 1.4 and talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, that's probably reasonable. I see we also have needs discussion. I think last time we talked about, like, it's okay to have needs discussion and help wanted, but we probably shouldn't have help needs discussion in good first issue, which this is not a good first issue. So I think this is probably okay. Is anyone here interested in working on this by any chance? It's okay if the answer is no.
Someday.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's on the 1.4 milestone, we'll, you know, get there when we get there. We'll talk about it again.
Yeah.
Memcached operator restart due to out of memory kill when deployed manually, but works fine when deployed using OLM.
I think I made the questions to understand it better. Can you go down to see if we have answers?
Doesn't look like they've responded.
Yeah. Yeah, because we need more information, like what Memcached operator he is trying to use the sample, the test data sample, he creates a Memcached operator from the documents. You know, what is the error actually, because it doesn't have the logs, if I'm not wrong. I put a bunch of stuff.
I mean, I know, does he say where he's deploying this to? I know on my machine, when I try and run the Memcached tutorial using just Minikube with nothing changed, everything to default, it yells at me about memory issues. So maybe this is a similar thing.
Is that just, like, is that just because you provision Minikube with very limited memory, or is it because it actually uses more memory than it should? Or maybe
I think it's because by default, Minikube has very low. It only grabs like 2 gigs for the whole cluster.
Yeah, which
This can
I
be
mean,
as well.
I don't think the memcached, unless you've got a ton of pods or something running in the namespace or the cluster that you want, like, it shouldn't be using that much memory. I would think 2 gigs would be plenty to run one more pod that probably uses, I wouldn't think it'd be using more than 100 meg.
Okay, I might have misspoke. It might not be Minikube's only grabbing 2 gigs. It might be that the Docker daemon's configured with, I don't know. I don't remember exactly what was complaining about it, but something was complaining about it and I had to up the memory.
Did you up the memory in like your Docker or Kubernetes, or is it up the memory request in?
I don't
actual
remember, it's
pod
been a
stack?
while.
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably say needs more information. And Camilla's asked the questions. We can wait till the questions come back.
Okay, Camilla, would you mind if I sign this to you?
No, Joe. No, you can assign, sorry. Sorry, yes, I don't mind. It's all.
Backlog this?
I think so.
Anything else on this?
Nope.
Seeing reconciler error in the controller manager logs. They're running an Ansible operator to onboard clients in Keycloak, whatever that is.
If you go down, I think I ask more information to this one. I don't know if it's this one or not. Yeah. Okay, has. Okay, in the logs, the error is like the task usage has something wrong in the syntax. So I think the next step is like, could you share your project, something like that for you retry, because.
Okay, so this just seems like support stuff. Are you fine following up on this?
I can go. I can ask more things there.
And anything else on this one?
No.
Recursion issues. They upgraded the base image for an Ansible operator to 1.1.0. Their playbook started crashing.
They were using Ansible 2.10 as well.
They think they're using Ansible 2.10, but
Okay.
Ansible or the SDK 1.1 and 1.0.1 are both using Ansible 2.9 in the base image. So I commented about that. That's the only thing that I noticed when I was skimming over this. So this could be ultimately fixed if we do upgrade to 2.10, but we were advised not to in the meantime.
I'm not really super up to date on Ansible. Is 2.10 like the newest version?
It was the newest version. It might still be. I'm not sure.
Well, why were we
It's a very
invited?
recent version. Sorry, what were you saying, Jonathan?
I was going to say, why were we advised not to upgrade to it?
They refactored a fair amount of stuff, and we were a little worried it might be unstable. But I'm not sure. Maybe we ought to just go ahead and do it.
Austin, do you remember where that conversation happened? I think it was in our Operator SDK dev channel, but it might have been in CoreOS Slack. I can't remember. I
think it was in CoreOS Slack because we were talking with Tim, and I'm not sure if he's in the Kubernetes side. But I can find that. I can find that, follow this up, and see if we maybe ought to have that conversation again.
You mind if I assign this issue to you then?
Sure.
Is this a backlog thing, or do we want to put this in a milestone?
Let's put it on the 1.3 so we at least have to talk about it soon.
Okay. Anything else on this one? So we only got 5 minutes left. We have a couple. I don't think we're going to get through all of these. Is there anything in here that's super pressing? Okay, I guess we're just keeping going on the list. We'll get wherever we get. Make test shows source not found.
Yeah, there's an issue in the kubebuilder make file where the shell used by CI or the user's shell is the generic bash, or sorry, it's not bash, it's just the generic profile shell. And it might not be bash. And if it's not bash, then it doesn't contain the source command. And it will fail. So this user is suggesting that you set shell to bash and then it will pass. I have a PR upstream that fixes this in this way. Part of the problem is the environment, the mtest environment setup script is a little bit weird as far as setup scripts go, because you need to source it and use functions within your shell. Typically speaking, you would just call this script and it would set up the environment for you. It can't exactly do that because it has to use some environmental variables and make those available to mtest. So there's two ways to solve this. One is to do as this user is suggesting and explicitly set shell to bash. I don't know if that's the best way to do it because that prevents people from using whatever shell they want in the makefile. On the other hand, maybe we should be requiring that dependency because it provides a lot of nice, pretty like well-known and prevalent tooling for the makefile. And then the other one is to modify the scripts so that it will always call bash itself, so we don't have to set it in the makefile. Point being, this is an upstream issue, so you can assign this to me and I'll respond with the appropriate upstream links.
Did you say you already opened a pull request upstream to fix it?
Yeah. I don't know what it is off the top of my head though.
Okay, is this like a backlog kind of thing or a 1.3 kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a backlog kind of thing.
Okay, and it looks like they already opened a pull request to us, unfortunately. Error while running conversion webhooks with OLM. Varsha?
Yeah, so this needs quite a bit of discussion because right now when the SDK scaffolds a CSV, it specifies the volume mount and also the volume where the secrets, webhook secret would be attached. And since OLM is actually managing the creation of certificates and all secrets, we need not do that. So that's something which needs to be changed in the CSV generated. But at the same time, we need to be aware that if there is any volume which is specified by the user, we shouldn't remove that our script specifying that. So this needs a bit of discussion on whether we would like to change the code or we would like to have a customized patch to modify this.
Barsha, is this a temporary fix until OLM injects these in the right place, or is this something that's going to be permanent?
I think this is something which we would need to change because right now OLM has made a fix to insert the certificate in the right place.
So, okay, so in the latest version of OLM, which I think is 0.17, it has that fix that I think we're both talking about.
Yeah.
So I guess the one thing I'm not familiar with, like, will OLM actually, so we give OLM a CSV and it has a deployment spec in it. Will OLM actually add volumes and volume mounts like inject into that at runtime to put the certs in, or are you saying, no, that's still something we have to do ourselves?
So OLM currently injects the certificate in the volume mount location where the cert manager injects it. So OLM currently doesn't have a way in which we specify the location that it injects in that specific location. Or we specify the name of the secret and it names the secret in a similar way.
Okay, so if, I guess I'm still missing a piece. So if the user doesn't specify anything with the location of certs,
Yeah.
but still has a webhook configured and still has all the normal Operator SDK create webhook stuff, will everything work out of the box by default with OLM's new inject into the right place feature?
No, I think this error would still occur. The user needs to comment the name of the secret in the attach volume for this to work.
Gotcha. That's a bummer. We should talk to OLM more.
Yeah. So I think we need to look more into whether we want to modify the CSV generator or we want to make OLM place or name the secret the way we want.
So just a heads up, we're 2 minutes over already. I don't have any pressing concerns, but just a heads up. It sounds like this needs further discussion, so we can put it in 1.3 and talk about it at the whatever we call the once a release meeting. Does that sound fine?
Yep, that sounds good.
And Varsha, would you mind
Varsha?
putting this issue to you?
Yep.
Also, Varsha, do you think this merits a kind of joint SDK OLM discussion?
Yes, this could be. I'll start a discussion in Slack regarding this so that we have more idea.
That would be fine if we think we should definitely do it in our like Operator SDK dev or OLM dev channel.
Yeah.
B, if we don't think that Slack is a good enough venue, we can always decide later to do a community meeting and invite everybody who's interested.
Yeah.
So if you could, as part of this, would you mind starting a conversation in one of those channels and we can see where it goes from there?
Yes, I'll start a conversation and then we can have a meeting if we decide to.
Perfect.
Cool. I think that's all we have time for today. But thanks everybody for coming. I guess we'll see you all next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.